Western Cape continues to battle a spate of fires. The organisation working on fire and local authorities have joined the fight. In January alone, there have been already 27 fires, mostly around Table Mountain National Park. Now, for more on this, I'm joined in studio by Trevor Abrahams, Managing Director at Working on Fires. A very good afternoon to you. Thanks for coming in.
I should indicate that, as we speak, we've been called out to some 33 fires already in January.
Sure.
So just today, there's been 3 new ignitions. 3 of them are out of control at the moment. So the temperature's at 35 degrees there with the wind going at 42 kilometers an hour. So we have all the ingredients for runaway fires going.
So what's triggered this latest round of fires? I mean, you mentioned weather, which is a big part of it in terms of exacerbating these fires. But in terms of this latest round, we know that it all comes just days after you've battled a vegetation fire in Simonstown.
Yes, so, we need to accept that this is actually the fire season for the Western Cape and parts of the Eastern Cape. So it normally burns this time of the year. What we have is an added ingredient, I think, is the effect of climate change. That with the wetter period that we've had, the 3 years or so before El Niño's kicked in, we've got a lot of vegetation now. And it's drying out. So if I tell you 35 degrees, 42 degrees wind, those are all factors that dry out all that new vegetation and make them highly susceptible to burn. Obviously, there needs to be an ignition point, and that can be multiple in terms of where it comes from. Yeah.
So I would imagine that time, efficiency, precision is a big part of containing these fires and ensuring that it doesn't go even beyond what you're dealing with. What sort of approach have you taken? So
I think in the Western Cape, the fact that we've had 51 fires in December alone, 33 now in January, but we've had no fatalities, no major structural losses. I think it's testimony to the collaboration between a number of agencies, local municipalities working on fire, the volunteers, NCC, that do come to these fires. But the big secret of the game is to get there quickly. And one of the areas that you see that we deploy is the working on fire helicopters, the bombers, the spotters. So we've dropped out 1.5 million litres already only in January on fires. You've seen pictures of the helicopters picking them from the sea, from dams. So the secret to try and control a fire of this nature is to get there quickly. And we appeal to the public to, in fact, notify the authorities the moment they see a fire. So something that might appear to be small at one point in time, if the wind picks up as the temperature goes on, can run away from you very quickly. And I think one thing the public needs to understand, when fires like this spread, it's not just the flames that spread the fire. The embers are blown ahead of the fire. So you have the spotting, which actually exacerbates the spread and accelerates the spread very quickly.
As you make this appeal to the public, I mean, the possibilities, you make mention of how this is the fire season and, of course, speaking about the impact of climate change. The issue around malice, intent, that hasn't been ruled out. How are you approaching that, and what is leading authorities, such as yourself even, to believe that perhaps there may be a second hand?
So, typically the investigation on cause happens after the dust is settled. So first priority is to try and contain the fire and to put it out. And that's ongoing. We don't actually do it ourselves. It's other authorities that engage in that. But if we look at a broader picture in South Africa, so most of the fires in South Africa has its origins in mankind. Negligence, sometimes, the people who have the brine conditions where you should not be having open fires. And then, of course, you do have the kind of arson type of aspects also. And you also often have children playing around with fire and it runs away from them. So for us, it's mostly human cause. In many other situations, in Canada where we were, lightning was the major starter of the fire. We do have lightning strikes here that also do here, but in this case, in the Western Cape, the fires that have started there, many of the sources have already been attributed to sort of human cause. So if you look at the Table Mountain range, there's a lot of homeless people who, in fact, use that as their dwelling. So you have fires for food, fires for heat, often not put out properly, and that becomes a factor. The fires we're seeing in the Western Cape is much more widespread than the Cape Peninsula now. So the big fires that are happening now are happening in the Grabo area, Kletjieskraal, and quite further from the Table Mountain range than we had in the Simonstown fires, the Glencairn fires, and more recently the Fish Hoek and and Cork Bay fires. So it's happening quite across the province, but as I said, it is the season, if you like.
And has this now prompted you to call for additional backing? Because I know that last year you had to rope in others to assist because of the, the potential for really serious harm. So
typically our arrangement is that obviously we have got about 645 fighters in the Western Cape alone. But we have backup teams in the other provinces which are now out of the fire season. And so they're standing by. So should, the fires outstrip our resources, we have that ability. And in the Western Cape, the Provincial Disaster Management Centre is quite an effective coordinating element in terms of bringing resources both from outside the particular area where it's burning, but also outside of the provinces.
And lives have thankfully been spared with this round of fires. But what sort of other damage has been sustained on infrastructure?
Well, not much infrastructure, but I think we must not dismiss our felt. I mean, Agri-SA, for example, told us that in the winter fire season, we lost 400,000 hectares of grazing land. We lost R1 billion worth of cattle. So, the fire in the winter season spread into our breadbasket. So likewise, the kind of vegetation loss that we have at times are quite significant in terms of people's livelihoods, whether it's, grazing areas, whether it's cultivating areas, etc. So, yes, part of our fynbos actually depends on fires for regeneration. Every 10, 15 years they need to burn to regenerate. But, runaway fires create more damage than they create good.
Very well. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in to speak to us in studio. Trevor Abrahams, Managing Director of Working on Fire, giving us an update on the impact of the latest spate of fires spreading across the Western Cape.